Okay, we are rolling, brother. Kieth One Time Thurman returns on Saturday night. If you're in the UK, catch it on ITV4. Late on. Josesito Lopez is the opponent. And this is a good sort of test for where you are in your comeback as far as Kieth Thurman is concerned. Josesito Lopez, to me, I refer to him as a back foot aggressor. He did some things, and if you go back and watch the fight he had with Marcos Maidana, Lopez hurt Maidana to the body. The scorecards were even in the 5th round before Marcos Maidana eventually took Lopez out. Now, there is a perception that Kieth One Time Thurman, one of his weaknesses, in fact, many people believe his strongest weakness, if you can use that phrase, is his body. In other words, Louis Collazo hurt him. And if Lopez can apply to the body the same pressure that he did to Marcos Maidana's body, then he may have a little bit of business in this fight. The difference is Marcos Maidana is all forward, all action. Kieth Thurman is a little bit of variety, shall we say, with his movement. I thought Lopez was very unlucky against Andre Berto. I can understand why the referee stopped the Maidana fight. He'd been dropped, was looking stunned and taking some hellacious punishment. But in that fight, he gave a good account of himself, but still lost. The Berto fight, I had him ahead, and he looked like he was able to carry on. But for some unknown reason, and we see a lot of premature stoppages in boxing, the referee called it off. That was bemusing, to say the least. He's beaten Victor Ortiz. Now, of course, Victor Ortiz is not the same kind of warrior as Maidana and Andre Berto, to give Andre Berto credit. Andre Berto, no matter what you think of him, gives 110% in every fight he's in, like Maidana. Canelo Alvarez beat Lopez. So, essentially, you're talking about a guy who's equipped himself well, but has ultimately lost all his big fights. This is a chance to test Kieth Thurman early and see where he is. Because although training is one thing, fighting fitness is another. You don't wear headgear and spar on fight night. It becomes a different ball game. It's a different atmosphere. And we'll see whether Kieth Thurman is still really Kieth. There are a lot of people, and I disagree with them, to be honest. They're talking about Kieth Thurman as though he's Manny Pacquiao's age. Do you know Kieth Thurman is only 30? Alright, he's had a long layoff. But there's something wrong if he can't rise to the occasion and win this fight. Of course, it's possible. I'm not saying all fighters age the same. Kieth Thurman may not be the same. But I'm expecting some tools to still be in good working order on Saturday night. Let's just say that. Right? And what are the tools of Kieth Thurman? What are his best assets? Number one, he's never been stopped. He's won virtually all of his fights but one. Big puncher. Big puncher. Exciting fighter when he's in the zone. Good accuracy. Fast. Right? Can throw punches from not only straight line angles, but very awkward angles. I think he has a good jab. Good punch selection. Good feet. Good footwork. Quick footwork. This is the sort of attribute that I think that Errol Spence, who people tip to beat Kieth Thurman, has to think about. Funny enough. This is why I don't think that the Errol Spence fight would be as easy for Spence as people think. Kieth Thurman's feet are far better than Kell Brook's feet. Kell Brook, I think, is the physically stronger, but I think Kieth Thurman has more attributes. Right? I think he's better defensively than Kell Brook. Right? So, all of these things make for a good Kieth Thurman. But if Lopez can get to the body, obviously that slows the feet down. Right? Is this going to be for Lopez, though, another fight where he has a great start, but ultimately comes up short? And I think so. I think he'll go a few more rounds with Kieth Thurman than he did with Maidana, because Kieth needs to get some rounds in the bank, right? And if Lopez can push him a little bit, many fans might think Kieth Thurman has lost a step or two, but it's his first fight back. Maybe he needs pushing a little bit. You know, it's better than if he won in the first round, just to get that fitness. We saw Tyson Fury, didn't we? Fight two, shall we say, fighters that Lopez is a lot better than. Pound for pound, Lopez is better than the guys that Tyson Fury beat before he faced Deontay Wilder. And Tyson Fury didn't look sharp. But these guys gave him 17 rounds. Or 15 rounds, I think it was. A 10-rounder, and the other guy lasted 5. Tyson Fury then, in the Wilder fight, was a bit sharper, and it paid off. It would have been better had Tyson Fury... Say Tyson Fury would have knocked these guys out Mike Tyson style in one round. He'd have really struggled with the pace with Deontay Wilder. But by the time the fight happened, he was sharp enough to do what many people believe was beat Deontay Wilder. So Kieth Thurman, I'm not really judging his performance on Saturday night. It's just about the W and getting the ring rust off, to me. Question is, can you do it in one fight? Because Kieth Thurman is talking about a big fight right after. And that big fight is against Manny Pacquiao. Now, Kieth Thurman, to me, he has charisma. It's a surprise that he's not already a pay-per-view crossover star. But of course, when you take such long breaks from boxing, the inconsistency makes it difficult for PBC and Al Heyman to really put him up there. Kieth Thurman now has got to put the foot on the pedal, basically. He's got to start now. If he wants the rematch with Porter, it's got to be soon. If he wants to fight Errol Spence, which he should do, they all should want to fight each other, it should happen. Terence Crawford, they need to find a way. Kieth Thurman now needs to start solidifying his legacy by fighting the big guys, right? And I don't really believe that any of these guys are scared of each other. But it's a risk-reward sport, isn't it? And at times, I do think that he looks at Errol Spence and thinks, you beat Mikey Garcia, son, your name gets bigger, then I'll fight you. But there's no way I'm fighting Errol Spence, that colossus, for $500,000 or $2 million. It's got to be bigger than that in Kieth Thurman's mind. That's why he's after Manny Pacquiao. Because let's face it, Manny Pacquiao is 40 years of age, but he is still a draw. The fight with Adrian Broner was a commercial success, apparently, on pay-per-view. They all want that Manny money. It used to be they want that Floyd money. Now it's becoming they want that Manny money. In a way, it's not such a good thing. Because beating Manny Pacquiao at this stage, it's making you out to be a bit of a joke, to be honest with you. Yes, you put a few quid in your pocket, but Kieth Thurman said he wants Manny Pacquiao as part of his legacy. The only Manny Pacquiao you could get now as part of your legacy would be if you had a time machine and could go back in time. Because it's all win for Manny Pacquiao. If he gets a draw with Kieth Thurman, it is a fantastic result. If he beats Kieth Thurman at 40, it is an astounding result. If he is even remotely competitive, that shows his greatness at 40 to still be able to hang in there with a guy that is perceived to be among the top 3 welterweights and was the best welterweight in the world just a year ago, according to many rankings. Kieth Thurman beats Manny Pacquiao, yeah, you got paid. And you beat a 40-year-old. We all knew Adrian Broner couldn't do it. Everyone that picked Adrian Broner was either a deluded person or a friend of Adrian Broner's who they knew deep down couldn't do it. Kieth Thurman is different to Adrian Broner. He has a lot more talent, and he's a higher level, let's face it, than Adrian Broner. He could stop people. When's the last... Adrian Broner's never stopped anyone at welterweight. Kieth Thurman has. He is a true welterweight. Probably if he put weight on, could maybe have the odd fight at 154 pounds. So it's not the same. But of course, we know where Manny would go. He's got the hand speed to do it. He'd go to the body. Of course, Kieth Thurman's feet are good. Manny's feet are good. So that fight, well, could be a very good one. And it would do tremendous numbers. But Kieth Thurman has got to keep his eye firmly on the ball. Do I want to see Pacquiao Thurman, providing Thurman wins this, which I think he will? I think Kieth Thurman will stop Lopez, as I said, in the mid to later rounds by knockout. I think that he will break him down. I think Lopez may have a good start. He may make Kieth Thurman chase him, and then, as I said, apply pressure on the back foot, which he's good at. May try to aim for that body. I think Kieth Thurman's feet will negate that somewhat. But the Pacquiao fight, no, not really. I think Manny Pacquiao should be allowed to leave the sport the way he wants. But probably the way Manny wants is to fight the top guys. He's that kind of person. He's not going to be able to resist, this sort of situation. I don't want to see him fight Errol Spence. You see, they're huge compared to Pacquiao. Errol Spence is a 154-pounder, burning himself down to welterweight. I don't care what anybody tells me. That boy was bigger than Kell Brook, who has fought at 154 pounds recently. Now, Kieth Thurman, he's a bit nearer in terms of height to Errol Spence than Pacquiao. And he's a lot younger. These are the guys that need to be fighting. But when all's said and done, they've all been trying to get the Pacquiao fight. If Pacquiao was 50, they'd try to fight him. Not because they think, oh, it's a great challenge or anything like that. It's the money. And that's the sad, sad situation about it all. But Kieth Thurman needs to think about his legacy and how he's going to be remembered after boxing. He's beaten Danny Garcia. He's beaten Sean Porter on the cards. I thought that was a close fight, but he's done it, right? Now he needs to do the same with Crawford and Spence. But here's the thing. You see, you don't have to win all your fights, but you leave an asterisk on your resume if you don't fight these guys, right? I'm particularly not happy with Errol Spence fighting 135-pounder Mikey Garcia. That's not a welterweight, guys. Garcia's not a welterweight, and Spence isn't a welterweight either, right? Pacquiao's not a welterweight. Pacquiao is about the same size as Mikey Garcia, let's be honest. He's just done really well for himself at the higher weight classes. But as he's getting older, I think he's best fighting the smaller guys, to be honest with you. He's looked pretty good against, Lucas Matisse and Adrian Broner. He needs to stay there. Mikey Garcia needs to stay away from these big guys. He's going to get hurt eventually. Can he beat Errol Spence? Well, I'll have to break that down sooner or later. But Kieth Thurman, that legacy, don't duck me, son. He's got to get that back. See, he's become civilized in recent years. Since he got married, he's become civilized. He needs to get that wild wolf back in there. He needs to bring the spirit back. You know, the guy that was calling out everybody. If you remember years ago, calling out Floyd, he was calling out Floyd when Floyd was in good form as well. You know, when Floyd was pound for pound king. Calling out this guy, that guy, to suddenly stumbling over his words when you mention Errol Spence and looking spooked in an interview when Errol Spence walks past. We don't need that Kieth Thurman. We need the Kieth Thurman who was calling out all the top boys back. Because if he does that, he has a chance with consistency of becoming a bigger name. And the tools he's got, they're there to see when he's on point. If he gets a good shake of ring rust off this weekend, I think he's back on the journey to being Kieth one-time Thurman. You know, I sometimes call him Kieth sometime Thurman. But you only need to be sometimes. You know, a points win over Spence is great if you can outbox him. You know, the points win over Porter was great. It was a tremendous fight. The points win over Danny Garcia was great. Right? A points win over Terence Bud Crawford is great. Right? But you've got to be one time against Lopez, in my opinion. This is the kind of guy, he's been knocked out by Canelo, he's been knocked out by Chino Madonna. Berto dropped him and then the fight was stopped. You've got to do that. Not expecting you to do it as quick because you're coming back into the frame. But I want to see those shots land and I want to see that powerhouse snap as the rounds go on. And those feet and awkward angles. That awkward punch you landed from a very strange angle against Sean Porter was reminiscent of the man you want to fight next. For me, though, it's Kieth Thurman. Lopez will have his moments early. Kieth will break him down. And then Kieth will go for the money fight. But I wish he would go for the Errol fight. So, it's Kieth Thurman, a victory for me. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out, brother.